Lifebrarian, a podcast dedicated to your personal story. A story which is not merely a collection of events, but a powerful chronicle that encapsulates the essence of who you are. Understanding the importance of your personal story is to recognize the significance of your voice in the grand symphony of life. Let's get connected.
Today, I'd like to talk about attitude and tenacity. And I think that with those two things, you could pretty much lick the world. Okay. I came out of a very, very dysfunctional family. So there really wasn't much cohesion there at all. And I had to quit school at 16 and go to work, so I never even got my high school diploma. But I didn't let that stop me. I got jobs and I worked. My first job was actually in the shipping and receiving room with a bunch of guys in a sportswear factory. So anyway, I've had a lot of challenges, a lot of them. I got married when I was 21 and I wasn't sure what I was getting into, and 13 years later I wanted out. Well, the good thing I got out of it was my 3 beautiful children, which I adore and love to this day. And then for 10 years I was raising them all on my own. And after they grew up, I decided, well, I was tired of being alone. I'd try marriage again. That was a disaster. But I tried for 30 years to make it work. I tried everything under the sun. And he was a gambler, and he wound up losing everything for us. And finally, I said enough was enough, and I ended it. So, but I'm working all this time. I'm working, and I'm supporting myself basically. So yeah, I thought, okay, plan A went bad. Where's plan B? So we were living in a rented place, and I decided I was going to stay there, and I did. Shortly after my divorce, I finally met the man of my dreams. A drop-dead, handsome Hispanic man who treated me like I was a queen. And we didn't live together. We agreed not to do that. But he was my supporter, because at 78, I decided to go back to school. I was going to get my high school diploma one way or another. So I'd run into hard times, all new math and everything. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. I can't do this. And he'd say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. He says, remember your motto, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm like, you're right. You're right. So I plugged on with it, I plugged on with it. And in 2 years, I got my diploma. And Channel 4 came over and interviewed me. And it was awesome. It was really awesome. And while I was going to school, the professors would tell the other younger students, if she can do it, you can do it. And I would just say to him, hey, it's an attitude of gratitude and tenacity. I said, I've got the tenacity of a pit bull. When I get something between my teeth, I don't let go. So it was great. It was great. I mean, we would spend weekends and holidays together, and we talked on the phone every single night, and it was a really, really deep love, really deep. And I was living in this house, and I had been living there for 27 years, and I thought, oh, cool. I'll stay here until they take me out on a litter. Well, anyway, my sweetheart suddenly got ill. We'd worked together for 7.5 years. Beautiful years. Years like I had never experienced in my entire romantic world ever. I mean, he would get out of the car, open the car door for me, would be in a restaurant, he'd pull the chair out for me, help me with my jacket on and off. All our special holidays, he brought me bouquets of roses. If my birthday fell during the week, he would actually get off of work, go home, change clothes, and come over and say to me, you're not spending your birthday alone. And he'd bring flowers and a cake, and he'd light the candle, and it was awesome. And I had a dog at the time, a pit bull. And she fell in love with him the first time she met him. She was just like, oh, this is great, And I said to myself, that's proof enough. That's proof enough. Cinnamon loves him. He's good, So, yeah, we wound up being together for 7.5 years, and then he got ill. And in 21, he suddenly died. And it rocked my world. It just rocked my world. It tore everything down. It tore my faith down. It tore, because he was wrongly diagnosed when he started getting ill, and he had gone into urgent care, and they wrongly diagnosed him several times, and then he wound up getting pneumonia in both lungs. And he went into the hospital, and 3 days later he was gone. January 20th of 2021. So I was devastated. Now I'm trying to come out of this. And in 2022, now I've lived at this place for 27 years. I did everything right. There was a double lot. It was a beautiful double lot, fantastic backyard, big fir tree by the side of the house, and a red bud tree right outside the big bay window. And I mowed the lawns. I took care of all the mowing of the lawns. I used to decorate the yards. It was absolutely beautiful. They never had to wait for the rent or nothing. I shoveled the walks. Sometimes we had some really bad neighbors upstairs, but I stuck it out. And all of a sudden, the building goes into a management company. And they decide they want to remodel, and they don't want me there anymore. 2022. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm not giving up my dog. And pit bulls are not accepted in rental properties. And I wasn't about to give her up. I said, I'll live in a cardboard box before I'll give her up, you know. So it was decided between my son and my youngest daughter that I come and live with her, which I really did not want to do. I mean, I've been independent all these years, and all of a sudden to be in a place where there's going to be rules, okay? And she and I, our personalities are night and day. I thought, how am I going to handle this? Plus, I had to give up 3/4 of everything I owned. Couldn't take much furniture with me at all. They were preparing a living room for me upstairs, which is now done, and it is gorgeous. But I just didn't know. I didn't know what was going to come next. And having to part with 3/4 of everything you own, you can't possibly imagine what that's like. That is a huge, huge loss. Being an artist, I couldn't take my drafting table. I had a beautiful Hammond organ that there wasn't going to be any room for, so I couldn't take that. Stove, refrigerator, most of my cooking utensils, pots and pans, dishes, everything, you know. And again, it broke me. It was like, where is God in all this? I thought you were my friend. I thought we had a good relationship, but now I'm starting to wonder. Okay. So, October of 22, I move in with her. 23, I get COVID. So it's like, where did this come from? Because I'm normally by myself, you know, I go to the store, I wear a mask, so on and so forth. The only thing I can figure is she works out in the public and brought it in with her. That's all I could figure. And I didn't want the shots because I have a very, very sensitive system that reacts violently to some things. So I didn't want to chance that, especially when I talked to some of my friends and they told me what was happening with them. It was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So poor Cinnamon and I were trying to adjust to this situation of living with somebody else. She's got a big dog, 110-pound lab retriever. Cinnamon, she's laid back. Well, so is that dog, you know. So they were pretty good together, but she was nervous about where she was. So she was having a lot of accidents, which I got in trouble for. And it made that first year absolutely, I don't want to say hell on earth, but close to it. Because here I am, and you know, it's like, I'm a grown woman. I don't need to be told what to do. I don't, you know, but there was the old tenacity. You know, the old tenacity kicked in and said, we're going to do this. We're going to get through this. We're going to find a way. And I kicked in my attitude. But you see by my shirt, I love my attitude. Because it is attitude and it is tenacity that is going to get you through the hard times. That's what's going to do it. And you do have to have an attitude of gratitude no matter what you're facing, because if you don't, if you're not thankful for the little things, the big things aren't going to mean a thing. They're just not going to. But I was lonely. I went into a state of depression. My so-called friends didn't really bother to call me or anything after a period of time because they didn't want to hear my tales of woe, you know. So, and I did try to join a church, but these modern churches are too much for me. The loud music and it was just, it wasn't my thing. I'm more traditional. So I didn't really even have that. And I did go into a state of depression. And it was like, okay. Then they were saying to me, well, you need to go and talk to somebody. And I said, no, I'm going to pull myself out of this. I know what's wrong with me. I'm going to pull my own self out of this. I don't need to talk to anybody. I know taking psychology. Oh, yeah, I did. After I graduated high school, I went to 2 years of college. And I took psychology classes, okay? So I knew what my problems were. I knew what was going on with me. I didn't have to have somebody saying that, well, how do you feel? It's like, you're the psychologist, you tell me. But, I said, no, I'm going to get myself out of this. And then they said to me, well, there's a senior center up there. Why don't you join that? And I said, well, what am I going to do amongst all those old folks, But then I did. I came up here and I joined and I found out that, wow, this is awesome. These people are awesome. These classes are awesome. Stained glass, Spanish, the Qigong exercise, awesome. And the people love you. And I love them, every single one of them. They're awesome people. And now they've got karaoke, which that's up my alley. So most of 24 has been pretty good. But Cinnamon took sick, and I knew that was going to come because she was going on 15 years old. And she had had some illnesses, which I was able to get her through. But now she was coming to the point that that wasn't going to happen. And finally, on Mother's Day of all things, I had to take her in. And that was devastating. But we went up to the emergency animal hospital, and I was in a room with her, and I held her, and talked to her. And they gave her a sedative so she'd calm down. And they had a dish full of chocolates that said, was it goodbye chocolates that you could give the dog because they'd never tasted chocolate, and I gave her the chocolates and talked to her, and I was going to have it done at home, but being Mother's Day, I couldn't reach the vet. And I sat there with her in my lap, and they came and administered the last. I, held her and told her I loved her and that I'd never forget her. And I had her cremated. I put in an urn. And she had at one time had to have one of her toes removed. She had gotten almost to the point of cancer with it. So they took a cast of that foot with the 3 toes. And they wrote in gold on the bottom, cinnamon. And so I had that, and I've got her death certificate, which almost, I mean, it's really beautiful the way they do that. And so I've got her sitting on a stand next to the picture of my sweetheart. He always called himself her daddy, and he'd feed her off the fork. And you know, I told her when she was passing out, I said, now you're going to be with Daddy, and you're going to be well, and you're going to be happy, and you're going to be able to run and play. And I have an electric candle in front of her, you know, and I talked to the both of them. You know, I do that, and then in stained glass class, I made a dog paw with angel wings, and it's inscribed with her name, her birth date, and her date of passing. So again, I was pulling myself back out of that. But if I didn't have the senior center, I wouldn't be able to do it. I really would. I mean, they come to your aid like that, you know, they're sympathetic, they understand, you can talk to them, and they don't belittle you for the fact that you're going through these things, because some of them have done it themselves. And what I thought was going to be like old fogies that I would have nothing in common with, because I'm very young and active for my age. I just walked up here 10 blocks, you know, but I do. I mean, we are really kindred spirits is what we are. We're actually kindred spirits. And I would suggest to anyone 60, 60, 65, whatever it is, that they're living like that by themselves and in depression, get in with that, a group like that, because it's the attitude and the tenacity is going to pull you through. It will. I'm living proof of it. Don't give up. Don't give up the ship and go down like the Titanic, which is my favorite movie, by the way. Yeah, Rich was my Jack and I was his Rose. And in my mind, we're going to be together again, just like that. We are. We're going to be together because I always told them, I want to be with you to death do us part. And ironically, we were. We were. And I think back on that as like, wow, we were better than married. So whoever is listening to this, let me just say, hang in there. Don't give up the ship. Don't throw in the towel, because there are better years ahead. They are. I know. I'm proof of it.